Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bryce, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my experience with Sprint. So if you guys know and you're subscribed to my channel, you guys will know that I do coverage comparisons between different wireless carriers just to show you guys what kind of coverage that each carrier is going to have and how they're going to stack up against each other. But today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be telling you my own experiences with Sprint and giving you the experience that I've had with them as a wireless carrier. Now, if you guys also know, I do have Verizon Wireless right now. I have my iPhone 6s Plus right here. Great phone, great network, but that's a different topic for another video. This is going to be about Sprint. So I've been a long time customer of Verizon. I've had them for about maybe almost 6 years now, and they have been excellent to me. But unfortunately, one day I cracked my phone and I was still under contract and I didn't have insurance on it at the time. So basically, after I cracked it, the screen stopped working. This was back when I had the iPhone 5. No, it was actually the iPhone 5s. I had the iPhone 5s from Verizon. Didn't have insurance, didn't have a case whatsoever. And that was my fault. I dropped it one day, landed face first, completely shattered the screen. Screen wouldn't even work. So back then, and this was about maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was on a really tight budget and I decided to go with Sprint network. It was actually Virgin Mobile, but if you guys don't know, Virgin Mobile runs off Sprint network. So I can still call it Sprint because it runs off the Sprint towers. It's not any different than the Sprint network except the company name Virgin Mobile. Now, I went to Virgin Mobile, I got the LG Volt through them, and the phone was a good phone. I'm not gonna lie, it only cost me about maybe $150 after tax, I believe. So it was a pretty decent phone, especially for the price. Like I said, I was on a budget, so I didn't have the money to go in, get my screen replaced on my iPhone. I didn't have the money to cancel my contract with Verizon and get a new phone. I didn't have the money to do any of that. The only thing that I had the money to do was go to Virgin Mobile, or Sprint, as you would say, go get the LG Volt, and go sign up with a $35 plan. $35 plan, unlimited data, unlimited talk, unlimited text. You get throttled after 2.5 gigabytes of data usage, and then after that, you're all good. I didn't have a problem with that. 35 bucks a month, no problem. So, long story short, I went in there, got the phone. From the start, my area isn't rural by any means, but it definitely doesn't have the population of millions of people. We're not rural. Some would consider we're in a rural area, but the city that I am isn't considered rural by any means. But like I said, we're not in any cities like New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, any of that, at least where I am. So right off the bat, Sprint did not have 4G LTE here. I was stuck on their slowest 3G network. And with Verizon, they've had 4G LTE in my area ever since 2012. So that was a good 4 years ago that Verizon added 4G LTE here. Sprint, on the other hand, they have LTE here now, and that was about only maybe a year and a half that they got LTE here. So way behind in the LTE coverage. But that was back when I first got the phone. Now, when I did get the phone, after a couple months, I did have 4G LTE in my area, but guess what? There's only about, I want to say 5 to 6 Sprint towers here, and there are 2 towers that are still not on LTE. So the LTE coverage was from the get-go very spotty. And it wasn't only in this area, it was in major cities. I traveled to San Francisco, and I was on Highway 101 in San Francisco, and 4G LTE would absolutely suck. The coverage would only be about 2 to 3 bars at most, unless you were right next to the LTE tower. It would always fluctuate back and forth between 4G LTE and 3G because it was a very inconsistent signal. And the data speeds, like where you got full reception, weren't bad, but weren't the best. But they were still usable. I believe I got about 10 megabits per second for the most part. They were still usable. But the coverage, whole different story. It was an absolute joke. And when I say an absolute joke, I mean an absolute joke. And, you know, I'm pretty sure other people have a different experience. I'm pretty sure other people have good experiences with Sprint. But I do know a lot of people, and I do hear a lot of people have bad experiences with Sprint, including my own experience with Sprint. Now, I figured that, okay, well, for one, their 4G LTE was bad. And let's move on to 3G. Let's talk about their 3G. Their 3G is horrendous. I mean, the coverage is good, but the speeds, oh my gosh. I couldn't even pull down 1 megabit per second on 3G most of the time, which means my YouTube videos would always buffer. I could not load a single Google page without it taking 2 minutes to load. I could not do any of that, and it was horrendous. Like, it became frustrating to me. And that's basically the 3G for me. It was just frustrating, to say the very least. Now, let's talk about their actual voice coverage. Sprint only focuses on major highways or cities. They don't focus on any rural areas. So there were a lot of times where I did travel and I did hit a rural area and I wanted to use my phone, but I couldn't because they had absolutely no coverage. Verizon, on the other hand, different story. I really have only had a no service zone where I was really out in the sticks and no other carriers had service there either. Those are the only times where I've experienced Verizon have no service, but other than that, I could go anywhere with my phone and I could rely on Verizon to have me covered. And you know, that's the reason why I switched back to Verizon, is because even though Sprint was cheaper, this phone on the Verizon networks works how it should. It's got me covered when and where I need it, which is how a phone is supposed to work. Because let's face it, without coverage, this phone is basically an expensive brick. And you guys' phones without coverage is basically an expensive brick also. Because let's just say an emergency happens and I was in a no coverage zone, I'd be pretty mad. I'd be pretty upset. With Verizon, I don't have to worry about that whatsoever. And that's why I switched back to Verizon and ditched Sprint, was because Sprint, they were an absolute joke for me. And I'm pretty sure for some of you guys would agree, but you guys are going to have to tell me your experiences in the comments down below if you guys want to share your experiences. I would enjoy to hear them. Anyways, that has been my experience with Sprint. Thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video.